Everyone. Oh no, my camera doesn't work. Well, that's quite unfortunate. Thank you for joining my stream. Welcome. I don't know why my camera's off, but I guess you're gonna have to deal with that. Oy. It's been a little bit. How are y'all doing? I'm excited to stream today because I feel like I've been traveling a lot lately, which is a statement I say a lot, and it's gonna be good to get into code streaming. But for those who don't know, hi, I'm Josh. I'm a full-time open source maintainer, which means I work on things that are open source instead of working for a specific company on closed source software. Wow, this is weird without the video. I don't know what's going on there. I've been having tech issues. I'm in a new not even apartment, townhouse in Philadelphia instead of my previous Brooklyn residence, and the technology has not been very pleased with me. But I got a few good things to chat to you about today. The first is TweetDeck, which isn't even a thing I work on. It's just a really useful tool. TweetDeck.twitter.com. They're not paying me or anything. I just really like it. It's a cool tool. It lets you set up kind of like a power mode for Twitter. I have these different columns, each of which are a different search or match from a list or show of my notifications. This is all personalized. I have searches for TypeScript-ESLint, eslint, Josh Goldberg, TypeScript, and so on. And the first thing here, Brittany Monkey Baby, hello. Thank you for joining. You made it. I'm so glad. we were assuming you're the Brittany I'm thinking of. We were talking about this. Yes, it is Brittany Joyner. Y'all should follow Brittany on the Twitch and on. Where's your Twitter link? Yeah, let me find it. I forget your exact username. By the way, one of the reasons I still use Chrome is because in the URL bar, there we go. You have a search which you can use as a shortcut to go to the search in a particular website. But here I just see Brit Joyner. Oh, thank you. Oh, you already posted it. There you go. Nice. Yeah, Brittany gave a really cool talk at Cascadia JS. So I'm glad you're able to make it. Sorry that you literally can't see me. I don't know what's going on with my setup, but that's life. Life in the fast lane. Let's see if I can add a new one. Huh. All right. I guess this works. We're going with it. Look at that. Live debugging. This is great. Actually, let me show off my OBS setup because it's not the most professional thing in the world, but I'm slowly learning. I use Stream at a weird resolution so that I can have my full desktop with stuff to the side. And I use transforms. Where is it? They changed all this. To crop out, I think it's like 200 pixels on the left, 200 pixels on the right. There you go. Of my dumb little face. And I put it behind things so the cropping's easier. And now you get to see me. Yay. All right. Anyway. The reason why I'm showing TweetDeck is because one of the really important things about open source software is the community. You need to have a good community of users, contributors, maintainers, all working together to report bugs, talk about issues, all sorts of positive things for your project. Thank you. One of them is responding to people on Twitter because they have a complaint. Now that might sound negative. Why do we want people to complain? But, ooh, I'm getting buffer node. Oh, I hate this. Advanced menu and settings to disable low latency mode. Hey. There we go. All right. Anyway, so this person who, Dominic TK Duo, has, oh, congrats. Dominic, you just got 10K followers. Good for you. This person posted, every time I change something in my TRPC router, TS-ESLint starts to complain on the usage slides in my editor, IntelliJ. Unsafe member access on an any value. Disabling and re-enabling ESLint solves this. Any ideas what that could be? Now, that is a very valid user complaint. I get it myself in VS Code. It is a problem with ESLint. I don't actually know or remember the real reasons, but I'm pretty sure it's that structurally ESLint was never really built for multi-file linting, some shenanigan like this. Anyway, when you see people report the same issues repeatedly, it's a good idea to add some documentation for it. People don't like to just complain and then nothing happen. They want to see things happen. So because this whole structural ESLint stuff is a big task that would take a lot to fix, for now I think a good strategy is to add an issue on TypeScript-ESLint.io asking for more docs on this. So that's what I'm going to do. New issue. I'm going to documentation request, docs, explain situation around no unsafe star rules triggering on file changes in editors. Boop, boop. I previously did look for open or closed docs requests, and I have read the FAQ. In fact, I think I wrote part of it. Yes. We do have a page on the site that's an FAQ for troubleshooting and FAQs, but this issue is not mentioned on it yet. All right, so let's just copy link. Boop. A lot of users have reported issues like this. This one. Every time I change, blah, blah, blah. By the way, GitHub recently changed the paste experience in their text fields. Notice how I pasted it and included links? That's really nice. Anyway, I've personally felt this in VS Code a lot. We should document this in our FAQs for when it happens to users. That the current /band-aid solution is to restart your ESLint server along with how at the structural the structural underpinnings are with links to pending issues. And this would affect this page. Yeah, my God. I'm on a new Command Z. I'm on a new keyboard. I had a mechanical for a while that I really liked, but I got back pain from just constantly hunching over onto it. So now I unfortunately use a split thing that I'm having to get used to. It's a fine keyboard. It's one of the Microsoft ergonomic ones, but I miss my nice mechanical. And eventually I'm going to get a mechanical split. Just now it's not as good, and I'm testing it out. Brittany, what keyboard do you use? I feel like we might have chatted about this. / anyone else in the chat. Let me know if you have keyboard recommendations. I probably won't take much action on them, but I definitely like hearing them. Yeah, it takes a while to get used to, but it kind of feels more natural to me now. Like I for a while was hunching over because I had to put all my hands next to each other, but on your body, your hands are to the side. Oh, that's a high recommendation. Logitech. Oh, that's a pretty keyboard. Ugh, I miss my light ups. Here, I can show what I have. I'm a sucker for a lit up keyboard. That's a good looking one. This was mine, Corsair. I don't even remember anymore. I'm doing like the Cassidy Williams pose here. Corsair Strafe RGB MK2. Nice. Fuck, I just spilled my LaCroix. Pardon the vulgarity. My wife bought a whole bunch of LaCroix. I don't drink it normally. Alright, well, I guess my $10 carpet is stained now. What a great start to the stream. Yeah, I wish people would stop calling things gaming when they're not actually specific to gamers. This is a gaming mic. Because it lights up. I don't have time for games. You know, or for like hardcore games. When I'm gaming, it's like relaxation mode. I'm not going all out. The chaos was worth it. Chaos is a ladder. Another important thing with open source and community building. Thank you. It's a HyperX Quadcast, I think. Yeah, this one. Boop. Funny how we've gotten to the point as a society that it's just not even surprising that Amazon has better SEO, that their link came first before the actual HyperX link. Google knows what most people really do. It's a fine mic. I might eventually get a new one. I don't know that the audio quality is the greatest, but it's probably more that I'm just using bad wires or something than the mic's fault. Google knows. All right. So another important thing with community building is that if you do stuff, it's good to tweet about it. So I'm going to continue my normal practice of tweeting. Start the thread there. Responding to is it TK Dodo? TK Dodo? Just tweets asking about no unsafe star rules, getting angry on file changes, pending more ESLint structural upgrades, overhauls. We should add an FAQ for this. Boop. And copy and pasting the tweet. Part of me really loves that so much of my streams end up being non-code work, like responding to tweets and filing docs requests and actually writing docs sometimes. But then also part of me is like, I want to code. So let's go to that. And by code, I mean review a pull request. No, just kidding. I'm going to actually code. Changing the order. I've got a few bookmarks for things that I've been meaning to get to soon. Now, this issue made me so happy, and then I forgot about it for 2.5 years, and then it made me happy again because it's such a good idea. I'm just going to copy and paste this into the chat. And then on Twitter. Oh man, did I went in the same tab and now I have to go back. Anyway, next up, I'm going to write a rule. Yeah, Hacktoberfest is a whole thing. Well, I'm going to quote you, Brittany, because this is a good description. Mostly reviewing PRs and filing issues reporting things more than actual writing any interesting code. That's how my life feels. PRs, reports, and resorting. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If only you had some kind of tool that could sort your issues, maybe keep little columns of to-dos and pending action items and stuff. Some kind of, I don't know, what service am I thinking of that lets you organize your action items and perhaps automate some of it? If you don't post Trello in the chat within the next 15 seconds, I will be upset. Brittany, if you want to link this, by the way, you did a really cool Trello project recently. A whole Trello workflow. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Rule proposal, enforce complete destruction of parameters. As filed by, okay, who are you? What is a phone? What is a phone? John Simon is now, okay, so what website is this? I like giving people credit when I do their things, but, oh, look at you, a data image / WebP. This, right. Well, I guess I'll just link to the issue then. That's fine. If people have Twitter accounts, I tend to at them. Good way to find unused types. Unused type properties, especially for inline type declare. That's a poor explanation, but whatever. React component, JSX components. Boop. Yeah, so let me actually show the thing. I'm gonna zoom in a few times. Let's look at this JSX component here, likely written in React, since it's from 2019. The button function, you can ignore its actual body with just looking at the parameters. Ooh. Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. That's good stuff. I will be sure to reread out of celebration after this. Oh, I gotta assign myself this. Yeah, so let's look at this function. It takes in a single parameter, which is type this thing here. It has two properties on the type, a text string and an onClick function, but only one of them, the text, is used. As stated, the onClick proper is accidentally omitted, and no current rule is able to catch it that I know of either. Maybe fully destructure arguments, something like that, which should flag this onClick as unused. Good stuff. And I'm actually kind of sad that no one else thumbs up to this. I'm surprised. This seems really useful. But yeah, this is what I want to do. I'm going to add a rule that finds all cases where there is a destructuring that's given a type, and that type isn't fully utilized in the destructuring. Now, how am I actually going to do this? Let me show you a lovely thing we have. Oops, wrong site. TypeScript-ESLint playground. This is how I'm going to poke around. Let's zoom in a few times and copy and paste this code here. We can simplify it even more by just say whatever, returning text. And I'm going to call it string and number. I'm just simplifying here and maybe clarifying, so that's used and unused. There we go. So this should be removed. Now, for anyone who hasn't followed my stream too much, I should note that I'm going to start delving into the AST, or abstract syntax tree, parts of things. If you are not familiar with that, that's totally okay. The article I really recommend is this one that I'll post in the chat. Tour de source, TypeScript-ESLint. It is an explanation of how we work, what ASTs are, how we use them, how to declare a rule. So you don't need to read it, but it is quite useful. All right. Now, just looking through, we see that there is an object pattern with a type annotation. And I'm in the ES tree AST. So that is different from TypeScript. TypeScript has a different representation of the nodes in a source file than the standard ES tree. Yay! Don't even get me started on how annoying it is that we have to deal with two AST formats, but typically rules use the ES tree one. That's their native one. That's the one ESLint understands. Therefore, it's what we use. Now, my rule is going to have to look for any object pattern that has a type annotation on it. And I just realized it would be really nice if I could preview the ES query results here. ES query is a syntax that you can use to search for things in the AST. It's kind of like CSS. I want to look for like object, pattern, type annotation. And there is an ES query playground out there. Here we go. Like if you look up for id.nameIsBar, it gives you this result, but there isn't one that's integrated with TypeScript-ESLint. So I actually am completely unplanned going to file an issue here asking for something in the website. We don't have a specific template for it, but I'm just going to websites. Add ES query visualizer to the playground. This is a accepting PRs website feature. enhancement. This is also much of open source. I'm working with a thing that I helped build and I have a complaint or a, man, I wish I did it, this thing request. And it's good to file those issues before you forget about them. So what was I on? Here we go. This thing, estools/esquery, exists and is useful for previewing query results, but it'd be really nice to have a playground that's both integrated natively with TypeScript-ESLint and let's just say that's integrated natively with TypeScript-ESLint, and having it on TypeScript-ESLint.io/play seems like a natural fit to me. I don't know how it would look, like what we would do, but I don't know what it would look like. Suggestions very welcome. We can certainly play around with it and get creative. And this is going to touch TypeScript-ESLint.io/play. Submitted. Let me just post in the chat and on Twitter because it is good. Ooh, who retweeted? Oh, thanks, Python Roboto. I don't know why you did that, but okay, cool. Interlude. Filing an issue about adding. Does ESQuery have a Twitter? I don't think it does. No. Adding ESQuery preview to the TypeScript-ESLint.io playground. I like the idea. Sparkles. Fun fact, this Microsoft Ergo keyboard has an emoji button, but it doesn't work. It just inserts a space of some sort. Bleh. Some kind of weird space-like character. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to actually start writing the rule now. It is 2:53 my time. It's been about 20 minutes of streaming. Yeah, I'm hoping. I gotta configure this keyboard. There's some magic somewhere I need to run. All right. Here we go, VS Code. Git checkout main, git pull upstream main. I work on a fork. I don't work on the main repo itself. I work on a fork because I think it's good to build empathy for people who have to work on a fork, and I'm also terrified of accidentally pushing to the wrong branch. All right, just yarn build. All right. I want to make a new rule. Let's close that terminal. So the first thing I'm going to do is copy a similar rule that I can then modify. Rules are stored in source/rules. We're a monorepo, so it's packages/eslint-plugin/source/rules. And we have a lot of them. So I'm just going to copy arbitrarily one. I don't need type information in this rule, meaning this rule doesn't care about the type system, about whether things are assignable to each other or where stuff is declared. All it cares about is just raw syntax, the AST. So I'm gonna, somewhere there's an issue for adding like a yeoman generator or something. I'm gonna make a new file. And what should I call this file? I'm gonna call this no-unused-type properties. I feel like I like that name. You know what? Yeah, I don't know. To me, this name makes sense because there's already no unused vars, no unused expressions. So maybe type properties makes sense. But someone else can always bike shed the name. Fun fact, bike shedding, the term, which is something I believe many people have not actually been familiar with, is a term for the law of triviality, or triviality. It's called the bike shed because people, what was it? People spends an absurd amount of time on things that don't actually matter. Like the shed used to store the bike that you use to get to work, or I forget what exactly it is. But basically it's the idea that we should stop wasting time on trivial details. But yeah, bike shedding, the name, it's important what it should be called, but not what I'm working on now. No-unused-type properties is the name. I'm just going to go ahead and clear the create function. We can look at what actually is in there later to do. But for now, we're going to fill out the metadata. It is type suggestion. I actually will fixable true because I will write an autofix. Oh yeah, it's a whole thing. It's very cool. Oh no, why is it? Oh right, fixable true. Thank you, TypeScript, for helping me. It's either code, white space, or undefined. I'm going to say we fix code. It's not a white space rule. I'm also a sucker for alphabetization, so these are going to be alphabetized now. LMNOPQRST. All right. What's the description? Flags, properties on types used only for object. Use properties on types, not for flags properties on unused properties on object literal on inline object types. Actually, that explanation kind of makes sense. Oh, I think we use a format like flag unused properties on inline object types. Naming is hard, describing is hard. Messages unused. This type is unused and may be safe and may be removed. This property type. Okie dokie. That feels good to me. Someone should yell at me if you think that I should use a different name or if there's a way to improve these words. I have no emotional attachment to what I am writing down right now. Shout out sparkling water Pamplemousse LaCroix. I wouldn't choose to spend money on this, but I understand why people would. It is somewhat pleasant. Normally I keep a large jug/pitcher of water by my desk because drinking water is important. But my desk is covered with random miscellaneous items and I don't have space for it. Moving is fun. Let me know if anyone here is in Philadelphia. We should grab coffee. Anyway, let's write some code. Almost 30 minutes in and I'm finally writing real code. What am I doing? I'm saying whenever I see an object pattern, so destructuring, that has a type annotation. That's my ES query. Object pattern with type annotation. Argentina, waffly czar. Well, that I look forward to eventually visiting you in Argentina then. I've actually always wanted to go there. Just South America, it's on the list. All right, so I'm saying that I have node, which is an object pattern with type annotation, which is the type I'm making, which is two things. It's tsestree.object pattern. I will slow down and explain this stuff, I promise. And type annotation. What is happening? Oops, that's not what I wanted to import. Where else is everyone from? I feel like that's a good getting people to be social question. Where is everyone from? And who is in Brooklyn so I can yell at you about how much I miss Brooklyn? I don't miss the pricing of Brooklyn, just the things that are there. So this is ES query, or rather a query in the ES query format. We're looking for any object pattern node with a type annotation. And then I have made an explicit type saying my node is this thing. It's both an object pattern and it has a type annotation. From Tennessee currently, right? Right, I was just talking, one of my friends is from Tennessee. I have a fun story about a friend from college. My then best friend, one of now wife, and I used to really enjoy bad pickup lines, and we made her laugh so hard she cried with the, "Hey, are you from Tennessee? Because you're the only 10 I see" line. And it's like one of my fond memories. Swanzo, I was just in Belgium, in Brussels. Amazing. Shout out React Brussels. That was a great conference. All right. So in theory, it would be nice if our types knew that when you specify the object, or when you specify a query for a node, the node is of that type. So if you were to, in theory, you would want this node to be typed as not never, but both object pattern and an object that has type annotation. And in fact, we have an issue in our repo asking for that very feature. Oh, I forget. I forget exactly where it is. If anyone can bring it up, if you have it at the ready. Infer. No. I did have a few waffles. They were really good. The chocolate was really good too. I did have some beer. I had this beer called Creek, I think it is. I was instigated to have this by some people from Brussels or Belgium in general, a couple of folks from Ghent. It is this, like, oh, is it? It's not Framboise. Is it like a fruity beer, cherry, something? That the cultural understanding is that, like, girls drink this beer, which immediately made me think it's going to be delicious. I'm going to drink it. And you know what? It wasn't as high quality as, like, the Leffes and everything else is having, but it was really good. By the way, I look forward to eventually having more Belgium things. I just wasn't there for long enough to do much. Dang, I really wish I could find this issue. I feel like I keep referencing it. Query. Yes, K-R-I-E-K, berry beer. What is your opinion of this thing? Anyway, we have an issue where I'd like to be able to infer the type of this node from the query, but it's not implemented yet. So we've had to do this before, where, for example, in the no unnecessary type constraint rule, I say that any type parameter with a constraint is this type parameter with constraints. So I've had to make this utility type called make required, where you can say make required something and then a property on it. And I want to reuse that utility type. So I'm just going to source rules utils. Do we have like a utils something here? I need to find like a utility file to put this up. Here we go. There's a util, AST utils. Oh boy, that's a function. Misc, I'm going to put this in the misc, miscellaneous. That feels right. Type, ooh, there's already something with a capital M. Member name type. Type make required. All right. Boop. And I don't know why some of our older files use exports at the bottom. Eventually I'll get around to asking around and maybe changing it to export inline like this. But not sweet enough for your wife. Your wife has good taste in beverages. I used to make a lot of Shirley Temples. In college, I was friends with one or two people who could not or did not drink. So during the parties, we'd drink Shirley Temples, which is ginger ale and grenadine. Neither are alcoholic. I got into them at a kid's party once. So good. Anyway, make required. Now we are type object pattern with type annotation is util.make required, TSE tree to object pattern, comma, type annotation. There we go. Not util is util. All right, so now we have correctly typed the node, something that should be done for us, but I just haven't had the time to really dig into. All right, so what is the pseudocode here? What am I actually doing? Collecting the, I'm gonna collect the properties runtime properties used in the pattern. I'm going to collect the types declared on the object. For each type declared and not used at runtime, report. Couple edge cases to think of. What about REST types or REST properties? Like what if we do like, no, geez, get out of here. That is absurdly annoying. Every time I click, it modifies the tree. Get out. All right. Oh man, I missed this. We recently, someone sent a pull request to change the AST and it keeps scrolling. Oh boy. You know what? I'm gonna refresh the page and disable the AST viewer. All right. So like what happens if you have ... or let's say you put a ... here. Used REST. Well, we should then not complain about the unused thing. Another would be index signatures. I think. Or an index signature on the type. Do we care? Like what? I don't know what to use. Oh, pardon me. I don't know whether we should report on this index signature. So for this ... the rest on the pattern, that's probably, if we see one, we just bail out. Like the ... rest means by nature, everything here is used. And it would be very difficult for us to analyze the rest thing later on to see like, is rest dots unused or rest dot use or whatever taken. So I'm going to say if there's a rest parameter, kill or bail out. So for const parameter of node dot properties, so I guess property, if property dot type is, what was the type in this fella? Zoom in a little bit. It was a rest element. AST node types dot rest elements. Return, we do nothing. And I guess otherwise, that's all we have to do here, just to collect them, because we have node.properties. So that exists. All right. Next up is types declared on the object. For each type declared and not used at runtime, report, which means that object for the type annotation is going to have a type annotation literal on it, which is maybe a TS type literal. All right. So what type could this be? Node.type annotation. Type annotation can be any sort of type node, according to VS Code's TypeScript language service. What is type node? Type node is any of these fine things. Which is actually incorrect in our AST. We are a little more permissive in what we say could be there. The TS abstract keyboard, the word abstract keyword, is not going to be there. So I say no type annotation, not type annotation. Only look at inline object literal types. So if no type annotation dot type annotation dot type not equal to AST node types dots, what is it? What is this one? TS type literal. Return. All right. So we say for const property of node type annotation type annotation dot type dot, oop, not dot type, dot members. Oh boy, why do we call it members and not properties? I don't know. There's probably a good reason. Member dot. All right, let's see what members type could be. All right, it could be one of multiple things. What is member? It's a type element, which is, oh boy. I'm gonna copy and paste this into the source code just so I can have it as reference. It is call signature declaration, construct signature declaration, index signature, method signature, or property signature. So if the member type is AST no types dot method signature, or the member, excuse me, is AST no types dot property signature. So for either of these, then we can check. So we found the members that are methods or properties. We may want to later look at index signatures, not sure yet. And for the ways to call a thing like a function, that's not relevant here. Like the construct signature, newing it up like a class, we don't care. I'm just going to say to do TS signature, or TS index signature, pardon me. I'm still jet lagged from Brussels. Life is good. All right, so how do we know whether it's unused? Let's put this here. We have a member.name ID. What is it called? Where does unused? It's key, which is an identifier. Member.key dot, oh boy. Member key can be property name computed, property name non-computed. Oh boy. But here the key is an identifier. So I'm just going to look at identifiers. If member.key.type equals AST no types.identifier, then we can check. Member.key.name, that's a string. All right. If use names.has, we haven't made use names yet, then we context.report. So we're going to have to fill in two things. Use names we're going to need to keep track of, make that somewhere. And context.report, which is the way an ESLint rule gives you a complaint, we'll need to fill in. I'm going to say the node to report on is the member, and the message ID to complain about is unused. We can also provide a fixer. Fixer. Let me just make that simpler. And we're going to return fixer.remove the member. All right. I feel like this is actually really cool code. This here is one of the most important parts of this whole rule. When we have found that the member is unused, which we'll have to fill in later, we tell ESLint that we're going to give a complaint about it. The complaint is with this unused message that we declared up here. The node we're complaining about is the member itself. And the fix for it, the optional fix suggestion, is that we remove the member. Perfect. What is used names? I'm going to say it's a set. Oh boy. Whew, excuse me, I sneezed. Say const use names equals new set string, and for each property, if its type isn't rest element we haven't returned, then I'm going to use names.add property.key. Ah, but this gets more complex. The property key can be computed. Oh my God, get out of here, AST viewer. That's an annoying bug. Let me just to-do file bug on playground about annoying scroll behavior. I'm just gonna make a tab of that Google search. That's gonna be my to-do. Brittany is already getting mad at me for not using Trello. That's okay. I will do it later. But what if we have a property like this? A plus B. Is that allowed? No. Allowed? Is this allowed? Oh my God, yeah, I think you can do that. What happens here? Button, AB, gotcha. Let's see here. What I'm just doing is I want to see what actually happens when we run this JavaScript. So actually I'm going to open the TypeScript because they have features around playing. Thank you, I appreciate your forgiveness. So this is some silly code here. What happens when we do this? When we console log allowed. Well, it works. Yeah, nice. So we have a dynamically computed key for the identifier. Oh boy, this is gonna get confusing. We have a dynamically computed key, which means this AB is a string. What is it complaining about? Why are you mad? Huh. So TypeScript doesn't even bother trying to get this right. In theory, we can look at this code here. Let me paste this into the chat in case y'all want to play around with it. We know that we're allowed an AB property, a member, and this is a dynamically computed name, which is equivalent to doing, I'm gonna copy, equivalent to doing this, which is allowed, which is equivalent to just doing this, which is equivalent to just AB. These are all the same. But TypeScript barfs at the last one when you concatenate. It does not allow operations. So that's cool. Anyway, in our rule, we'll have to to-do explicitly or allow keys like AB that aren't identifiers. Oh, thank you, Zwansor. I appreciate the subscription. 3 months. That's really nice. Thank you. Y'all should subscribe to me, by the way. Like and subscribe. I think I get money from it. I think it promotes me, but just makes me happy, and that makes me do better. So yay. Woo. All right. So if property.type equals AST no-types.identifier, and for now I'm just going to handle only identifiers. We're going to add the loop with property.key.type. There we go. Thanks, Brittany, for subscribing. I've been reluctant to set up fancy things for my channel, but I should get like one of those emoji fireworks things that stream modifier video things. All right. So if the property key type is an identifier, we add names. I normally try to resist refactoring code until later. But I'm going to do something really... Oh, pre-firework emoji thing does give you 2 special bragging rights. That's true. That's very true. By the way, Twitch says we're 1 sub away from a hype train. That I think people get gifts. I don't know. I don't know what that does. Sounds exciting though. Anyway, I'm going to do a quick refactor here just because this code can be smaller. I don't know if this is better, but I just want to try it. I'm going to try a reduce here because this actually kind of makes sense to me to do as a reduce. The initial value is going to be a new set string, and then the accumulator and next function will say, actually, let's call it property. So, oh, you know what? And no, I'm not going to do so. I was going to do something clever with like returning early in the reduce, but there's no, this is fine. Maybe if anyone knows how to refactor this code nicely, they can to be more functional, but yeah, I'm not going to bother. Anyway, I think this should mostly work. I will just move this if check earlier because we don't really need to do a whole loop in making a set if it's not a type literal. So actually, I can probably put this into the ES query, move into the ES query. That could probably happen, but yeah, I want to actually try this rule out first. Then we say find all the property names, the to-do. Then for all the members of the type annotation, if the member type, let's just clean this up. Member type is either a method or property, and the member's key is, oh, look at that lovely indentation issue. There you go. And the member's key is an identifier, which by the way reminds me to do maybe member keys other than identifiers. Like if there's a computed key here. And the unused names, or the used names does not have it, then we report. Got a lot of edge cases that we'll cover later, but I really just want to get this darn thing out the door so we can test it. And what does testing an ESLint rule actually look like? Well, I'm almost out of LaCroix. Better test quick. We base this rule off of adjacent overload signatures, and I'm going to copy that thing's test also and save it. No unused type properties.test ts. Ooh, great question in the chat. Is the ES query thing faster than procedural programming somehow, or just better maintainable? I think it is faster, but I don't know. I haven't dug into the internals. I want to say that when ESLint walks through a file, it can do fancy magic cache shenanigans or deduping or something, so that if you have multiple queries that are the same, it can execute all of them in a row. I don't know. I do believe it is more maintainable though. Back in the TSLint world, I'm actually going to pull up a rule here. See if I can find one for an array rule. What we would do is we'd do this walk function that would call ts.forEachChild on the source file, and then pass it a callback, where the callback runs itself recursively, ts.forEachChild. This was really confusing to write and hard to debug at times. So it was really nice to switch to ESLint and have these kind of declarative queries for which nodes you want to target. Great questions, Wanzor. Yeah, I don't know. They're pros and cons, but I really like this way. Keep coming, by the way. These good questions. Here we go. The way you test a rule is with valid and invalid cases. Ooh, Foo Bear. First time chat. Hey, I got a question for you. Hope it doesn't derail. Is there a name for the sum string args void pattern? Ooh. Yeah, it is a bit weird you can omit the colon separator for key value there. This is a great question and something I will answer by popping into the playground. Where is the ASD viewer? Here we go. So whenever you see something weird, you can copy and paste the code into a playground and play around with it there. I'm just removing unused stuff. So just simplifying it so we don't have other junk to get through to look at it. Here we go. All right. So this is what we're looking at. You can pop it into the playground, open an ES tree view, and see if there's a name for it. Well, the ES tree one doesn't actually call it anything. Maybe TypeScript does. You know what? I don't know that I know the name for this. Yeah. Bashing TSLint. Always a good time. There is definitely a name for this. Oh my god. I am forgetting it. It's hard to remember all these random pieces of syntax trivia shenanigan. It's a good question. I don't remember. But it is a combination of two features. One is that you can do method-like things on objects. That's allowed in JavaScript. The other is that you can have computed keys. Like if you need to do like 1, 2, 3 as a key, that's allowed. Thus, this is combining those things. Method-like things, 1, 2, 3. Node. So that's all that's happening. Computed property name. Yes, yes, yes. This is a computed get out of here, AST viewer. This is a computed property name. I forget what these are called. Methods, object methods, inline literal methods, something like that. JavaScript is awesome. I really like this language. I'm going to be sad in 20 years when most of us are writing whatever comes next. Who knows? Yeah. Cool beans. All right. So back to the rule. Valid and invalid test cases. The name of it is not adjacent, blah. It is no unused type properties. Multi-select magic there. And I'm going to add a valid test case, which is function test, which has nothing in it. This should not cause the rule to complain because there's no code, nothing in the code that is really there to complain about. CD packages, eslint-plugin. We have tests set up. You can do like yarn, jest, no, unused, type p, -- watch. This should work. Please work. Yay. All right. We should have an invalid case, which is going to have some code, and then an errors array, which is not empty. Let's add an empty object, which has unused Boolean, or unused Boolean, let's say. Great. Invalid cases must have at least one error. Let's call it an error on message ID unused, column, I don't know, 0, line 0. Let's, great. It's complaining about the line. There should be line 2. This is how I write my tests sometimes. I'll put in clearly incorrect things so it can yell at me telling me, no, it was supposed to be this correct thing. Ooh, I love this. This is another thing that ESLint does really well that TSLint didn't do as well. They have really nice unit test utilities. So like if I say forget to, I don't know, put on like the output rule fixed thing, the thing that says what the rule looks like when output fixed. Is there an output here? I guess output there. Output is going to be this thing. It yells at me. Awesome. Oh yeah, it is nice to make sure the tests fail, that it's important ones. Or are there any tools you can think of that maybe validate that your tests are running the way they're supposed to, that they're testing the code, that your tests are, you know, doing well, some sort of testing harness or framework for your tests you wanna plug here? Ooh, it's even complaining about my spacing. Let's fix that. Oh, code coverage. I was gonna suggest Striker.js, but let me just go ahead and plug that on the stream. Striker mutator. That's the one. Yeah. So test your test. It literally modifies your source code in a bunch of different ways and then reruns your tests to see which tests never actually fail when your source code is completely broken in various ways. Really cool. Thank you, Zwanzor, aka you are Nico.js, right? I'm remembering this right. Either I'm being weird or remembering you. Okay, great. I really hate misremembering things about people. I'm very paranoid about it. All right, so we have managed to make sure this rule works, and I'm pretty happy about that. I'm not going to stop, but I will push up my progress so far so that just in case we have it online. It's good to have as reference. So git checkout b no-unused-type properties. This PR that I'm going to make is going to be in draft and it's going to fail. I haven't added a docs page. There are a bunch of to-dos. Code coverage probably isn't great, but you know. Recommit m, work in progress, feature eslint-plugin, no-unused-type properties, add rule. All right. Draft pull request. This fixes, where's the issue? 132 waits. There you go. Send a draft. It is 3:30 my time, half past, and I'd like to end by 4. So y'all should start thinking, are there any questions you want to ask or topics to bring up? Also, at the end, I will raid another channel. So if you've got a channel you think should be raided, let me know. If you yourself are a streamer, maybe you should just be raided by me. So keep that in mind. Anyway, I kind of want to play around with this ES query thing. I feel like I can put this check into the type annotation, but you know what? Before I do, I'm going to add a few more unit tests just to make sure that things are working right. So once I start refactoring the unit test, we'll make sure that things are still good. Function test, used. You know, I don't like how these are like just on the one line. I feel like I can collapse them. And we actually have this really cool lint rule. I forget if we wrote it or if it's in, there's this eslint-plugin package. Just to repeat that, the eslint-plugin is a package that gives you nice eslint rules for writing eslint rules. GitHub eslint-plugin, eslint-plugin, where is it? There we go. Oh wait, no, that's eslint-plugin GitHub. There we go, not an aardvark. Ah, they just moved into this new ESLint community org. Very exciting. Yeah, I just thought this was funny. Anyway, it's a bunch of lint rules that make. I think we wrote the one that makes sure your plugin tests are formatted nice, which auto fixes very nicely. All right, so I'm gonna make sure if there's a use parameter, used 1, used 2. Let's see, implicit any, param, yeah, let's just call it param. So the param is any or string or whatever, like if it's an object and not an object pattern, just an identifier. Yeah, eslint-plugin is pretty great. I'm really excited about them. All right. And so far we're complaining only on this invalid one because the output is incorrect. Oh, I forgot to auto format this one. Fun fact, there is a command in the VS Code ESLint extension, auto fix or fix all auto-fixable problems. Voila. And it's just complaining about the error line. Probably going to complain about the column too. I'm going to guess it's 25. Nah, 21. All right, nice. I'm going to add another failing test just to be sure. Unused, used. And that should complain. Ooh, let me fix the formatting. Should have one error but had 0. This is interesting. This should be complaining. Unused Boolean. And oh wait, I went the other way around. This should be fine. Haha. It should be that I have 2 type parameters. All right, now it's complaining nicely the way I want it to. Column is actually 27 now. And the output, yep, is used. Very fun. The formatting is a whole shenanigan. All right. Okay, I feel a little more confident in my tests and therefore my source code. So I'm going to try to do this refactor. I want to say that it's an object pattern where the type annotation has a type annotation. That should still work. Oh man. Is it a type annotation dot type annotation? Yay. And now the type equals TS type literal? Is that gonna, oh. Do I have to wrap it in quotes? Oh man. Let me see, does anyone else do like this kind of query thing? If anyone here knows ES query, let me know. Oh, in other places, I'm just looking elsewhere to see what we do. If you're trying to figure out how something works, maybe see how other people do it. We see init.type equals, so maybe I should switch the outside quotes to double and the inside quotes to single. Here we go. Oh. Object pattern, type annotation to type annotation, where the type is TS type literal. Oh, right, it's where there is a type annotation that has a type and that has, well, look at that. Look at that. That's great. It works. The type system is mad about it, but the runtime works. Look at that. That's very pleasing to me. I'm very pleased. But now I need to fix the type system. It's complaining that it doesn't know that, you know what? I'm going to have to do even more complicated than make required. I'm going to have to do something more manual where it's a type annotation that's an object that has type annotation where the type is AST node types dot TS type literal. Preach. It works, but type system is mad about it is something I say at least once a week. Yep. Same. Ugh. Ooh, just getting a good stretch here. I don't really do these standing, but haven't set that whole thing up yet. Yeah, actually that reminds me. I wanted to tweet this. So let me just go ahead and boop, add this here. Work in progress. It works, but type system is mad about it is something I say at least once a week. Let me just words of wisdom from Brittany, Nico, and myself. Yes. All right. So this feels good. I'm pleased. That's one of the to-dos. I will also note, I'm thinking a little more meta nowadays because I'm trying to make TypeScript-ESLint a fun, easy thing to maintain. Oh, sorry. You're right. I'm just trying to be inclusive. Pico.js denies saying that can confirm Nico's types are always flawless and beautiful. There you go. We're working in the public eye, people. Gotta be accurate and precise. It's actually probably kind of a bad idea that I'm doing this. This is a good feature. I'm excited about the rule, but I am kind of giving myself more work as an open source maintainer. The larger the code base you maintain, the more it takes out of you to maintain it. Time, energy, soul. And we're kind of swamped on TypeScript-ESLint. But I really wanted to add this rule, and I'm trying to get our issues down to fewer. And you know what? I wanted this, so I'm gonna keep doing it. Life is good. All right. The brutal truth. The fewer features you have to work on, the better. I want people to write less code with fewer features. Life is hard. What is the thing people say with video games? I want fewer games with, what is a game? Games with like fewer features, smaller stories, and more kind dev cycles. Something about this. Something about the state of the industry. Anyway. So we need to allow keys like AB, things with computed keys. Else if property.key.type. What could we be? Let's go back actually to the playground. Closing off my other shenanigans. All right, what key type is this? Oh, you know what? I have lost track of the actual code I was looking for. So let's paste this fella back in. Add some line breaks. Here we go. By the way, I'm going to speak to the power of nice indentation. This is much easier to read than it was before. All right. Why is this complaining? Oh, right. Return unused. Ooh, question about maintenance of ESLint. Do you get a lot of bug reports for existing rules? I feel like if a rule works today, it should work tomorrow, right? Great question. We do for some rules. You're correct in general. Most rules are pretty stable. Actually, I would love to have a dashboard that shows which rules do have more reports. My educated guess is that it is a sort of exponential decay where some rules have a lot of bugs or features or whatever requested on them, and most rules don't. If you look at TypeScript-ESLint.io/rules, if we just look at the first couple as an example, JSON overload signatures, look at it. This has one open issue. Let's see here. Can I do a search that's specifically? I wish GitHub issue search was just a little more powerful. At least I knew how to configure its more powerful things. I don't know if there's a way to search for title contains rather than anything contains. Array type doesn't have so many, I think. Yeah, like array type has none. But then you have rules like no floating promises. No floating promises is probably our second biggest one in terms of issues. Because people want to make floating promises all the time. There are a lot of situations where they want to. Let's see, a lot of dupes on this one. The no unused rules definitely have a lot of complaints. No unused variables, no unused. Oh, sorry, I said no unused. I meant no unsafe. No unsafe, the ones that stop you from accidentally using any. Thank you. I love no floating promises. It's great, and it's just a little too powerful for some. The big issue with it is that there's no way to explicitly easily say what floating promises are okay. And we have this RFC we've been making very little progress on of being able to specify a type or value as a rule option. It's surprisingly tricky. I will actually post that in the chat. But it's not in yet. Yeah, fun fact, Node 18 Plus's tests, there's now a test function and module you can use from Node. They create promises for your tests that resolve when the test is done, which is a nice feature and technically a floating promise. So that's a whole thing. Anyway, cool. You know what? I'm just gonna blaze through this last thing if I can. So to do allow keys like this AB thing, I wanted to see what type is this. So if we have type AB, is that allowed? Oh yeah, this is, yeah. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a computed key and then storing the value as allowed. I have AB allowed as just like I'm gonna call that renamed. Ooh, I might talk to you about your striker stuff actually to see what you do after this. Oh no, I just realized I had made a to-do. Oh yeah, to-do. Look at this, it gives me the autocomplete in the history, nice. So let's look at the AST here. It is a property with an object pattern where the key is a literal and the value is an identifier. Okay, so the key is literal rather than identifier. Dot literal use names dot add property dot key dot raw. All right. Then I should add a test for this. Let's see if we have, wait, why are these valid? Oh, right, it was the, never mind. Used, renamed. So this should still be a passive. Oop. All right, so we got a complaint here. We got a complaint that we have an error. We have a complaint that unused. All right, it's used. I'm doing bad names. Why did I get both of these? Okay. Oh man, it's still complaining. Why is it complaining? Let me copy this into the playground. It shouldn't be mad about it because it is used. You know what? I'm going to have to debug. We have debugger support for VS Code checked into the repo, so I should be able to, just be able to place a breakpoint and pause there. So the property key type is identifier and the property key's name is used. All right. And we're going to the type annotations. By the way, used names is a set. Oop, get in there, you. That, oh my God, here. Used names is a set with entries used. Oh my God, you know what? I'm probably running the wrong test. I'm gonna wrap this in code and I can say only. So this is the only test that runs when I debug. That is a fun little feature. All right. Yep, here we go, property.key.raw. Aha! It has the quotes. That's why it's complaining. The raw has quotes, and then I actually need to use value. All right. So I'm going to convert the value to a string. Very good. And yay, it's passing. Which means I can un-only this code. And I should be able to add a failing test case for it now. Where if I take this code and let's say rename the parameter to, rename it to unused. Here we go. If I add an unused parameter, there we go. So now the computed used one should still be fine, but now we complain on unused. And error column is actually 40, not 27. We should have a different output. Yep, here we go, because it's different input. Very good. Love it. All right. It is 3:52 my time. I'm tired. I feel really good about the progress I've made. The rule is not done. This to-do can be removed. I'm still going to want to think about edge cases a little more deeply, which does not translate well to streaming. And I have a couple of to-dos, like the literal keys other than identifiers here. So I'm going to say this is a good stopping point. No one has suggested anyone I should raid, so I'm just going to show y'all my, oops, oh no, all my things. Who should I raid? Ooh, semantics. Love semantics. Ben is great. So this has been fun. Thank y'all. I've thoroughly enjoyed the chat. And I'm just going to go ahead and start the countdown for the raid now. But reach out to me on Twitter or anything if you want to chat, and always happy to talk linting, TypeScript, etc. Oh, and sponsor me on GitHub. Bye.